I have made videos about my favorite depictions of the devil, hell, and now it is time to complete the unholy trinity. I am so excited to share with all of y'all some of my favorite depictions of demons. And please be sure to also share some of y'all's favorites down below in the comments. The word demon actually has a pretty broad taxonomy. Loosely speaking, demons have been a lot of different things throughout the history of different religions, cultures, and their folklores. You know, a demon can be like a ghoul, a monster, or a ghost. There are also real-life people who I would label as a demon, but for this video, we are going to narrow our scope down to just the demons of Christianity. The New Testament is full of demons. They are usually either fallen angels serving hell, and the devil, or evil spirits on occasion, but almost always their goal is to pull their victims further away from God. As the centuries have rolled on, the popular image of the demon has kind of evolved from freaky little guys who torture unfortunate sinners in hell into projectile vomiting, sadomasochistic, parasitic gargoyles. But before I tell y'all all my favorite versions of that, I do need to give a quick spoiler warning for some of the media I will be yapping about in this video. There is also an index down below in the description which does list the music used too, as well as timestamps, but you know some discussion may leak over a little bit, so just in case, here is a general spoiler warning. For the audio listeners, I will be spoiling a little bit of The Exorcist, the ending of The Conjuring 2, a little bit of Deliver Us from Evil, the beginning of Pumpkinhead, the ending of Wreck, most of Hereditary, and some of the Pope's Exorcist. FYI, I have excluded the entity from the Smile films from this video because while it is demon-ish, my impression is that it is something else altogether, and I've excluded the Cenobites from the Hellraiser franchise for the same reason. If you enjoyed this video or anything else I have been doing recently, please feel free to like, comment, or check out my Patreon for just $1 a month. You can get your name added to the credits of every future video. Let's get the obvious out of the way. The demon from William Friedkin's 1973 film The Exorcist is the standard. This is the bar right here. I cannot overstate enough the influence this film has had, not just on our collective image of the demon, but on film and popular culture in general. Regarded by many as either the scariest film ever made, as the greatest horror film ever made, or both, The Exorcist is a classic that holds up incredibly well. This movie basically spawned the possession genre, or at least popularized it, but even then, nothing trumps the original. And the demon, who is named in the source material, the novel, as Pazuzu, as well as in the sequels, but not in this film, is a great antagonist. This demon is a nasty piece of work. It aims not only to destroy the poor girl it is possessing, but those also around it. This sucker bites, vomits, scratches, and claws, but above all, this demon is a venomous trash talker.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
That's kind of a demon hallmark, actually. They usually talk some pretty mean smack. I love the opening to this film so much, too, where Father Merrin discovers the statue of the demon and becomes ill. The way that dread builds throughout this sequence is really tense, and you know what, while I'm at it, I do want to show a little bit of love for Friedkin's most underrated film, Sorcerer, which I'm just name-dropping to recommend. If you like tense rides, Sorcerer is as intense as they come. It's about a group of men desperately trying to drive a pair of trucks loaded with delicate explosives through the jungle, and it goes very hard. As does Valak, the demon nun from James Wan's The Conjuring 2. There are some extremely creative scares featuring this very eerie, very sinister villain, and despite not having any dialogue, Valak is still pretty memorable. A big part of demon lore is that if you can learn their name, you can either weaken or defeat them, and the moment where Valak is named is actually kind of, dare I say, epic.
You are Valak! The defiler! The profane! The Marquis of Snakes!
My Letterboxd tells me I have seen both of the Nun Demons spin-off films, but I have literally zero recollection of either of them. I also don't have a tremendous memory of Scott Derrickson's 2014 film Deliver Us from Evil. I would guess that most don't, but I do remember that the demon that plagues our protagonists in the film is seemingly a fan of The Doors. And yes, I mean like Jim Morrison, you know, the band The Doors. The movie Needle Drop's Soul Kitchen, People Are Strange, and Riders of the Storm. Plus, there is a moment where the demon makes Break On Through to the Other Side play really loudly in someone's head. This is all a little bit baffling, but still pretty memorable. And you know what? Points for being different. Most depictions of demons, especially in possession movies, end up being very similar. So even when there is a choice made like this that doesn't really add up, I still appreciate it. Plus, Sean Harris's performance as the possessed man is really good. Another very different and exceptionally memorable demon is Pumpkinhead from the 1988 Stan Winston film, Pumpkinhead. A grieving father summons this demon to exact revenge on a group of teenagers who accidentally killed his son, and Pumpkinhead is a pretty simple demon. He's basically just an unstoppable murder machine that does what he is summoned to do. He doesn't really have all that much personality, but he still looks incredible. The practical effects on display in this film are really, really cool. Stan Winston is a VFX and makeup legend, a four-time Oscar winner who did work on Jurassic Park, Terminator 2, and Batman Begins, just to name a few, and this movie was basically made for him to just show off, and on that front, it absolutely succeeds. I also want to show some love to the demon from the 2007 Spanish found footage masterpiece Wreck. And I mean, there are a lot of demons in this movie. Possession spreads around like a virus. They're essentially zombie demons, but the possessed woman encountered at the end of the film, Patient Zero, is one of the scariest movie monsters ever. Extremely well portrayed by legendary creature actor Javier Botet under some very good makeup. This thing is just horrible. You don't want it anywhere near you. It is just so scary, as are the demons from the Evil Dead films. And the show too, but I've only seen the first season. Referred to as the Deadites, this legion of demons routinely summoned via the Necronomicon, aka the Book of the Dead, are pretty high up on my list of horror antagonists that I want nothing to do with. You do not want to be either possessed by or caught by someone possessed by a Deadite. The torturous fates suffered by so many throughout the franchise are all usually pretty extreme. But all of that being said, the Deadites are still so much fun. What makes them so great, and what I especially love here, is how much they enjoy being so ridiculously evil. These demons genuinely derive quite a bit of pleasure from their sadistic and masochistic actions, and watching them wreak havoc is kind of like watching an artist at work or someone who takes a lot of pride in their vocation. They are really good at what they do. And there's something about that just makes them weirdly endearing to me. The Deadites are dedicated agents of brutal chaos. And you know what? I love them for it. God forbid I make one of these videos without mentioning the Eric Kripke created series Supernatural. Of the many, many demons who come and go throughout the show, some friend, some foe, the yellow-eyed demon, who is the series' initial primary antagonist, is a pretty solid villain, and then of course I adore Crowley. He is one of my favorite Supernatural characters, full stop, and I've already spoken at length about some of his highlights in previous videos, so I'll just leave it there for now. In 2023, The Pope's Exorcist starring Russell Crowe was released, and the very next year he also featured in a movie simply entitled The Exorcism. These films are completely unrelated, which is for some reason very funny to me. as are many of the things that happen in the aforementioned title, The Pope's Exorcist. I'm bringing this up just because I watched it the other day and felt like talking about it because it consistently cracked me up. Pretty much from the get, too. The opening line is, "That's a beautiful pig," followed by, "Only the best, father," which reminded me a lot of "Oh Hi Doggy" from The Room. Russell Crowe plays the real-life Gabriel Amorth, a very controversial priest and quote-unquote real-life exorcist. As to the validity of his exploits, I remain mostly doubtful, but if he was anything like depicted here, then he was fucking awesome. I mean, in the film, Amorth is like the Vatican's bad boy. He walks around like he owns the place, drinks and cracks jokes, rides around on a motorcycle, and cuckoos? Not once, but twice.
Cuckoo. Mess, cuckoo. Father Amorth!
The movie's demon, voiced by Ralph Ineson by the way, also has some lines that got a good laugh out of me. Plus, the movie also ends with one of the most ridiculous sequel/franchise setup attempts that I have seen in a hot minute. Lastly, aside from the legions of demons who I've demolished playing Doom games, shout out to all of them for being great enemies, I've got King Paimon from Ari Aster's 2018 film Hereditary. Excluding the Antichrist, who I honestly don't know if counts as a demon or not, this is one of the few depictions of a demon as a child. And no, I don't mean demon possessing a child, which is still kind of what is happening here, but Charlie, the little girl who hosts Paimon, is Paimon. At the end of the film, Paimon's followers successfully resurrect him after killing Charlie earlier in the film, in what is still one of the most shocking and horrifying moments I've ever seen in a movie. But once Paimon is brought back in the body of a male host, it is still quote-unquote Charlie in there. Paimon doesn't even seem all that evil either, just kind of confused, almost like there's a weird kind of innocent edge to him. He has a tick and is slightly childish, and I love that it's more like Paimon, instead of being resurrected, has been reborn or reincarnated. It is a very neat and different take on the demon summoning ritual and result, so all hail King